Okay, brilliant. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Welcome back to Radio Apnea Awaz. This is your host Abu Musa, and I'm going live now I've been going live since just past 12 p.m. and I will be going live to you up until 10 past 1. And post 10 past 1, Brother Abdul Jabbar and Shabir will be on radio discussing their program, inshallah. I don't know what they have in store, but apparently I heard that it's going to be some light-hearted conversation about Eid, post-Eid. So we are live anyway, and I have young Muhammad in the studio with me. Assalamu alaikum, Muhammad.
Walaikum salam.
Can you please speak into the microphone?
Walaikum salam.
That's great, Muhammad. Thank you very much for that. And okay, so we've had a couple of conversations, and I want to move swiftly on to another topic. Well, it's not going to be a topic of discussion, but it's going to be something that I just want to touch upon. Last night, brothers and sisters, those of you that are mixed martial arts fans, UFC 300 took place, and it was a massive fight card. And I know I don't want to promote anything that is haram here, but I'm not promoting in any way. I'm just touching up on the fact that it took place last night, and there was many good fights last night. I didn't stay up and watch it. I never do, because I'm not going to lose my sleep over people fighting, but it was just something that was really exciting, and I'm really into my UFC. So I just wanted to mention that to you. And there were some notable fights. I think there's a new champion coming through the lightweight. So Charles Oliveira, for those of you that follow mixed martial arts in the UFC, Charles Oliveira lost to Arman Sarukian, who previously fought against Islam Makhachev, the Muslim brother from Dagestan, and it was a very close fight. So we have a new challenger on the lightweight division, and it's getting really heated up. And there were a lot of other good fights, but I don't want to go too much into detail because this show is not about mixed martial arts, and just something that I thought I would touch on. And then if there's any brothers and sisters out there that are big fans of the UFC and watched UFC 300, maybe you can share my sentiments and you can appreciate what I'm saying. But the rest of you, yes, Mohammed.
I just want to say also, if you guys want to listen to more about the UFC, ring up right now, tell us that you want to listen to it, and we will try to add more UFC into it, because our radios are always on a Sunday, so the UFC fights are always a Sunday morning, so we will obviously know the results of someone.
Respect. That's a very good point. I mean, yes, you're right, Mohammed. I mean, we obviously my show is quite a topical discussion show, and I always try to bring a bit of everything into the show. As Mohammed always tells me that, you always use the word mixed bag. So I am going to use that term again. It is a mixed bag. So we do talk about trending news, political issues, community level issues, sports, nutrition, health, fitness, you name it. We try to all bring it in. And I think, there is a pocket for that. But if brothers and sisters feel it's something that, maybe we can touch upon every now and then, because as young Mohammed mentioned, the UFC fight nights are normally on a Saturday night. If you think, no guys, don't talk about that, we don't want to hear about mixed martial arts, it's non-relevant, not relevant to this radio show, and it's not appropriate, that's fine. We completely respect that, respect your wishes, because at the end of the day, the show is going out to you, and the aim is that we want to deliver information to you that you will want to listen to and you want to engage with, and not the contrary. So it's important that we get your feedback on that, inshallah ta'ala. But anyway, generally I do follow the UFC. I'm a big fan of it, even though it might sound like a bit of a glory support of the fact that you can't stay awake and watch it. The only time I do stay awake is when there's a real, could be Islam Makhachev fighting, or Hamza Chimaev fighting, or when Khabib was fighting. It was always those guys. Yes, Mohammed, sorry, you want to come in?
And also when it's not late, because the UFC fights, if they're in America, it's always like 3-4 o'clock, and no one's to stay up that time just to watch a fight. But if they're in where they're also
Abu Dhabi and Saudi,
obviously their times are a lot more different to USA's, so their time compared to the UK time is about 8-9 o'clock, so those types of fights we can watch.
Very good point there, Mohammed. I mean, you're right. We don't lose sleep over something like that, because yes, we do recognise the priorities in our lives, and we do recognise that waking up for ibadat is more important than waking up for entertainment. And even though if I'm up by some bizarre chance, I will watch it, but I am not an avid follower to the point where I will force myself out of bed to watch it, unless there's an exceptional individual that's fighting and it's a big fight card. Like I remember when Khabib and Conor McGregor fought, I made sure I stayed awake and I watched that fight. But anyway, brothers and sisters, enough said about that. I don't want any complaints coming into me saying that, why are you going on about the UFC fight card, blah, 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 blah. Okay, we'll close it on that note there and move on to another subject. Well, recently I was at a Jummah khutbah, and the Imam there, he was giving a specific talk about he was giving his advice to young Muslims, and my personal reflections on his khutbah were that they were very insulting and very telling to the Muslim community. I think there's a way of giving dawah that I think is more appropriate and effective, and there's a way of giving dawah that becomes very negative and very off-putting. If you are attacking somebody's character and personality, I think you're walking on very dangerous territory there, because if you can imagine for a second that you are not practicing Islam and you're far away from the deen, and it just so happens that you come to the masjid on a particular given day. I will bring you in a minute, Mohammed, but I want to finish what I want to say here. So, for example, I can recall the days of Jahiliyyah for myself when I was not into deen. And brothers and sisters, I'm being very honest and frank here. So please, just accept what I'm saying, and my apologies if you don't like what I'm saying here. When I was not practicing, I wouldn't go into the mosque. I wouldn't pray. I wouldn't go to Jummah. Obviously, when you're not practicing, you're not practicing. You're not conscious of deen. Things obviously, alhamdulillah, have changed since then. But if I was to go into the mosque on a particular day, and I thought, okay, I don't generally go in, but I'm going to go in today because I want to make an effort. I feel compelled to go into the mosque, and you have an imam there who is now saying and shouting and telling people that this activity is haram, you can't do this, is haram, that's haram, you can't let your trousers kind of fall over your ankles, it's haram, you can't do this, you can't do that, that's haram, your haircut's haram. If you are just pointing out faults of people, it's a very dangerous style to walk along, because you're not really inviting somebody to come along. And I'm not saying that everybody will respond in a negative way to those comments. Somebody might think, yeah, okay, this guy's got a point, I am doing haram and I need to stop. But there's people out there that I've spoken to that don't appreciate that and don't warm towards it, because they don't find it conducive to their nature. You've got to remember, everyone's personality is different out there. Some people may feel ashamed within themselves and feel like, what I'm doing wrong. I need to change myself because this guy's told me what I'm doing is wrong. There's some people out there that will run a mile when they hear stuff like that, because, who are you to tell me? What makes you so better than me? Why are you talking to me like that for? So, hikmah, wisdom, is something very unique to individuals, and I think delivering a message, you need to have a sensation of the audience that you're delivering to. And if you just firing blank bullets into the crowd, it's very dangerous, because you could hit and you could miss a mile away. And what you're trying to do is to tap into those people that are not into the deen, but you're driving them away. Because you've got to remember, you have a captive audience. That captive audience will either walk away drawn closer to the deen, or they will never come back again because of what they heard. So to me, from my perspective as a dawah carrier, you have to be very conscious of the audience. So for me, I have to ascertain the person sat opposite me. Now I get it, when you're sat in a congregation and you're leading the khutbah and you're talking to the audience out there, you might not know everyone's inclinations and everyone's realities. Hence, I think it's very important that our role as dawah carriers and deliverers of dawah is that we enable our congregation and not destroy our congregation. We don't put them down. We don't slap them in the face verbally, but rather we try to raise their aspirations. We give them purpose and reason. It's important that we invite them in the most appropriate ways and appropriate language that we use, rather than trying to scare them off and try to intimidate them. Because Islam is, yeah, I get it. You can use that tone with those that are in the deen, those that are strong, those that are committed, those that have kind of walked the walk and talked the talk. It works with them. But those that are far from the deen, that need to be brought back, we need to be very, very tactical, very strategical in our language, in our use of words, in inviting people. You know, Ali Radhanaho, you know, he said in a famous speech that we should speak to people in a language that is appropriate for them, that they understand. Now we can interpret this in many, many ways. But when you're on the streets and you're talking to young men, we need to be really wise around what is going to invite them, because if they are caught in a certain bubble, they are caught in a certain world, how do we now engage with them? How do we now come to them in a manner that they feel that, you know what, I can talk to this guy here. Yeah, he's from the mosque, right? But you know what, he understands where I'm coming from. He understands my level, because I'm talking to him now and I'm trying to bridge the gap. I'm not looking at his faults. I'm not exposing his faults. I'm not even talking about what he's doing. Yeah, this guy could be a drug dealer. Yeah, this guy could be a criminal. Yeah, this guy could be, chasing girls all day long and smoking drugs and dealing in drugs, etc., etc. But I'm not calling the elephant in the room out. Rather, I'm looking at something common, something that we can relate to, something that we both kind of agree upon. It's a starting point. It's a premise. Let's start from a positive note. Let's build that relationship. Because you have to understand, to influence somebody, you have to build a relationship. If they don't know me from Adam, why are my words going to have any impact upon them? I have to build trust. I have to build some leadership with them. Once they see me as something of substance and a character they can relate to, only then do I have the enabling powers to influence what they think and how they think. And I can slowly, subtly challenge them. Again, brothers and sisters, you have to remember, dawah is a long-term plan, strategy. You don't do dawah ad hoc. You don't walk into a room and just fire shots at people and think that you're gonna do well if you hit somebody in the right place, and 10 people you might not even hit at all, and they might just run a mile. We want to be effective, and being effective in any form of communication, you have to do your due diligence. You have to do your homework. You have to think it through. You have to think that when I am the speaker, when I have become the speech, when I have become the vessel for Allah's words, for Allah's message, I have to make sure I'm delivering it in the most effective and the most best manner, that my audience, because what you've got to remember also, brothers and sisters, is those that are on the path of Islam, we don't need to win them over. They are already being won. We need to win those over that are lost, that are misguided, that have gone on the wrong path. They're the ones that we want to invite. And even if you look at the word of invitation, you're not subjugating somebody, you're not forcing somebody, you're not hitting them with a hammer over their head. You're inviting them. You're opening the door for them and asking them to come in. You're not forcing them to come in. You're not telling them to come in. You're asking them. So when you invite, you have to have something to invite them with. And we know that, from the sunnah, that food, an invitation of food, an invitation of something, brings somebody towards you. And that's when you have a captive audience. That's how you bring them in. So all I'm saying is, as a dawah carrier, it's important that we think about the effectiveness of our dawah. We think about long-term objectives rather than short-term. We're not just here, wham, bam, thank you, ma'am, kind of mentality, but rather, our community, we need to nurture this community. We need to grow this community. We need to bring them close. We don't want to create hate in this community. And what I don't like is those individuals that blame the community, blame individuals for our shortcomings. Look, brothers and sisters, we were all at some point in our lives doing wrong. We all came from the other side. Ask yourself this question: when you were there on the other side, what brought you to Islam? What drew you closer to Islam? What steps did you take and why? Because I'll tell you something about myself, that when I remember many, many, many decades ago, the people that I warmed towards were those that were warm towards me. They didn't say anything about my lifestyle. They didn't judge me. They didn't pass judgment upon me. They didn't look down upon me. They didn't think they were better than me. They saw me as an equal. They treated me as an equal. And it was that warm atmosphere that brought me to the deen. It was, and obviously much more than that. It was the strength of the discussions that I was having, the strength of the arguments, the strength of the dialogue, the communication that I had that won me over to Islam, made me realize that my future in this world is within Islam, nothing else. There's no other ideology, way of life, creed that is gonna be something that I want to be embracing and be part of. But I realized that this sensory, emotional kind of world that I was living in, that was built upon my desires, was not going to be the thing that was gonna be the way forward for me. Because tomorrow when I get married and have children, Islam was the way forward for me, and that came to me in a rational, logical manner, but also it came through warm dialogue, warm interactions with brothers that I had. How are we doing for time on that?
We've got 16 minutes now. So.
Oh, we're doing 16 minutes, have we?
Yeah.
Okay. Mohammed, very quickly, what do you want to say? Oh, in
Uh,
fact, let's save that for the last one then, yeah? Okay, Jazakallah khair for that. I am going to go on a short ad break, and we'll be back very shortly.